good Friday morning, and welcome to the WLBB Community Voice program here on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3, streaming live online at newstalk1330.com. And this morning, we are on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page, and I am Colin Worthington. It is 8:30. Now, if you listen to any of our newscasts, you heard us talk about the Tax Allocation District project proposed for the city of Rica for about a year now, I think. We've done a lot of follow-up stories on that, and these gentlemen have been here to talk about it as well. So we're about, I want to say about eight months since we first started talking about it. We're going to find out where that is and maybe discuss some criticisms that this project has received in the media from local elected officials. Not all elected officials, not all local elected officials have spoke out against it, but I want to say at least 2 or 3 have said things publicly against it. Sitting to my left, Villa Rica City Manager, or Villa Rica Mayor Gil McDougal. See, Tom was there last time. And City Manager Tom Barber sitting to my right. And gentlemen, thank you for coming up here and educating us a little bit more on this, Tad.
Good morning, Colin. Thank you.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
I guess, first of all, let's talk about what the TAD is. Tax Allocation District. Voters, gave you guys the right to use this wherever you deemed it necessary a couple years ago. But go ahead and tell us about what is a Tax Allocation District? What does this allow for you guys to do?
So, to try to be as brief as I can, the Tax Allocation District is essentially an area within the city of Villa Rica here, but it could be in any community, that you have identified as more difficult or more costly to develop.
And there's a good chance that nobody would develop on it unless
Sure.
there was this benefit.
Well, maybe a good chance that they wouldn't, but otherwise you end up with a lower quality development because you don't have the infrastructure in place. And if you leave that cost onto the developer 100%, then he does what he can afford to do, which often can be less than what the community desires. So the Tax Allocation District allows you to identify a piece of property that needs this type of infrastructure, and then you begin to plan the type of development that will come in there. And because the taxes that are generated there in that district go to the payment for the bonds that create the funding for the infrastructure, you're able to have a heavier hand in deciding what type of development goes in there. So this allows you to have more control. We can't always control growth, but with these tax allocation districts, we get a pretty heavy hand in determining what kind of growth goes into the district. So essentially, that's the idea behind the tax allocation district.
Okay. As far as getting the bonds, I don't know that you have to, but it seems like you guys have proposed Carroll County government and Carroll County Board of Education to get on board with you guys. And they would have to agree to some things for this to go, for you guys to participate in the bonds. But it's not 100% necessary they do, but it would be helpful and for you guys and easier, I guess, in the long run.
Well, it actually makes the project work because it takes the increment from the ad valorem increase as the development occurs. So essentially, whatever the tax authorities are receiving now on the undeveloped property, they will continue to receive that. But the exchange is that as the development goes in, the increment, which is the additional ad valorem based on the value of the new development, goes to pay off the bonds that were obtained to pay for the infrastructure. So yes, we would be asking ourselves, the city of Villa Rica, to contribute its increment to the payment of those bonds, the school system to contribute its increment, and the county as well to contribute their increment. But that increment is only what comes from the development within that TAD. It doesn't come from anywhere else in the county. No system is on the hook to write a single check for any money to pay off those bonds than what is generated by the development there. No development, there's just there's no increment. You're not giving up anything.
As far as seeing this built, when did you guys predict, I guess expect or hope to see the project start? I mean, and then maybe have the approval or the agreement with the school system and the county government. When did you guys hope to have that done? Because I remember initially there was talk about him starting to build that in April, maybe.
Yeah, April or May, and I think that it's fair to go back and say that we didn't really plan for when that would start. That came from the developer. Mm-hmm. This sort of we didn't seek this development out. We may have in the future sought some type of development, but this came came to us. The developer came in and said, look, we're looking to build a new 60,000 square foot grocery store and another 100,000 square foot of retail space, and we want to do it over there. And we had already designed this tax allocation district back in 18 and 19. So it looked like a good opportunity. But the developer has really been the one who's laid out the timeline, not so much us.
Sure.
And we had a joint meeting back in December the 6th, with the county, the school board. We invited everybody, and a lot of folks showed up and showed a lot of interest in what this developer was doing. But what he said then has sort of been a driving piece for me. He said that time kills everything. So I believe that he needs to know that this infrastructure is there as soon as possible. But I think he does plan to move dirt as quickly as he can. And right now we're looking at maybe June. At one time we were looking at May, and I think he's pushed it out. We've been asked to maybe push it out a little bit, and he has he's felt the need to push it out to June. So could be June.
But you'd like to have the infrastructure in place before he builds, or before he at least opens up for these places?
Well, before he opens up, for sure.
Yeah.
But what we need to do is have the agreements with the county and the school system and the city of Rica so that we can secure the bonds to pay for the infrastructure. We need to do that as soon as possible. I had hoped that we would have done it February. We didn't. It would be good to have it, by March or April. But we're working with everybody. I mean, our goal here is to answer any questions that people have and to try to clarify. Maybe we've been told that there's a good bit of confusion and misunderstanding and a lot of questions, and so we want to be able to answer all those questions.
Well, but so what's the holdup? Just because misunderstandings? I mean, why aren't we able to clear those up, face to face, and have this stuff signed at this point? Why do you think that is?
Well, I think we haven't really known what the questions were for a long while. Now, I'll say this, and after that December 6th meeting, the school board, they sent us a list of 28 or 29 questions. I can't remember how many, but we got right to work answering those. They were great questions, and we appreciated the opportunity to do that. We're here to answer any questions at any time. We've always been available to answer questions. We have reached out to all of the county commissioners and the school board members to meet with anybody at any time to answer any questions that they may have.
Before we do take our first break, and wrapping up on the actual project itself, what is proposed to be in there? I know the apartments. You say that a grocery store. What are they proposed, and exactly where will that be? How much space will that take up in that section?
So I don't know the exact off the top of my head size of the tax.
But it's behind
allocation.
it'll be in between the hospital and the olive tree in that area there.
Yeah, sure. Between let's say the Olive Tree and Old Stone Road, back over to Punkintown Road, and then reaching into downtown. It actually would come in right behind the amphitheater and the police department there. So it's sort of divided into, it's all one area. I don't want to confuse people. It's all one district, but we look at it in sort of four pieces. So the first piece, which touches Punkintown Road, would be the largest of the retail piece. And the retail piece coming first and being part of this is what really makes this viable, because that's where all of the sales tax revenue is generated. So there, you're looking at a new 60,000 square foot grocery store, about another 100,000 square foot or so of retail space, which would be shops, restaurants, that kind of thing. There'll be a new Quick Trip gas station. Can I say that? I can't remember if that's the actual name, but there'll be a new gas station over there. A large
Quick Trip equivalent to a restaurant.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, they are today everywhere you stop. But that piece will encompass a new apartment complex and a new townhome community. So the apartments would be a rental, and the townhomes are going to be fee simple owned units.
Okay. All right, we'll get deeper into the TAD proposal and where they stand now when we come back from our first break. If you have questions or comments, feel free to post those to the Newstalk 1330 WLBB Facebook page, and I will take a look at those during the break. Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
Oak Mountain Academy is an innovative school of academic excellence celebrating a 60-year legacy. I'm Patrick Uran, head of school, inviting you to join us for our 60th anniversary celebration weekend on March 18th and 19th. Join us for a silent and live auction, cocktail hour, dinner, OMA trivia, and dancing as we celebrate 60 years of excellence. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us. The Warrior Legacy, celebrating 60 years of excellence. Warrior-minded, warrior-driven, and warrior-led.
Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice, News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. Time right now is 8:41. I am Colin Worthington. Our guests are with the City of Villa Rica. Got Mayor Gil McDougal to my left, City Manager Tom Barber to my right, as we talk about this Tax Allocation District project, where it stands right now. Why didn't you guys bring Sarah, Assistant City Manager, Deputy City Manager?
We get asked that everywhere we go.
Uh-huh.
Somebody has to hold the fort down. And today was her day.
All right, well, maybe next time. Maybe we could swap her out for one of you guys next time. The Tax Allocation District, again, it started talking a lot about it towards fall of last year. That's when I started doing stories and looking deep into it, and you guys talked a little bit about it at meetings. And as we discussed in the first segment, you're asking that the Carroll County Board of Education and Carroll County government get an intergovernmental agreement in joining this with you guys. It hasn't been reached yet. One hasn't been agreed, and I've talked to a couple of people on the record. We had Michelle Morgan back in January, I believe, the chairman. She said that she hadn't received maybe some answers to questions at that point. I talked to Clint Chance, and he just said, hey, this is what we're looking at. Apparently another commissioner spoke against maybe encouraged the Board of Education not to support it as well at a recent meeting. And even before that one, District 5 Commissioner Ernie Reynolds, he posted something to his Facebook which wasn't in support of it, and even used a phrase that this is blatant urban sprawl, and he brought up some concerns that he had as far as how that money would affect even his district, District 5, which is the southern portion of Carroll County, and how it affects taxpayers. So I'm going to ask you guys a couple of those and see if we can touch on those. He does talk about that the TAD project can postpone increased property taxes from going into county coffers for 10 to 15 or 20 years. It says, and you guys haven't denied that. I think the state allows for 50 years, right?
That's correct. The state does allow for 50 years, but so the way these are set up, though, is that how long this takes to pay off is directly related to how much money you end up having to borrow. Mm-hmm. And keep in mind, the city's not borrowing any money, the county's not borrowing any money, and the school system's not borrowing any money. This is all occurring within this tax allocation district, and these bonds are paid off just from the increment that comes right there from that district. So keeping that in mind, as that property develops, the additional ad valorem goes to pay off those bonds. So it's directly tied to how much money you borrow and how fast or how quickly the development occurs and what the new values are as to how long it takes to pay off those bonds. Now, the IGAs, the intergovernmental agreements, will say 50 years. That is how the state law designed those agreements to be. But the moment those bonds are paid off, the TAD ends. The tax allocation district and the payment of those funds out, that have been the increment ends. So that we think that'll be in 10 years or less. And I know I keep saying that, but that's because we're not looking at borrowing some extreme amount of money. The city has some costs that they'll pay that are outside of this TAD that will help with the road over on Punkintown Road. The county is not paying, or the school system, or even the city through this tax allocation district, every part of this. But the money that we borrow will be for the infrastructure that builds the road that goes from Punkintown Road to downtown Villa Rica, right by the police department. This enhances the type of growth that will be there, and it really is a quality of life issue for the people of Villa Rica. There's going to be a new golf cart path on one side of this road, and on the other side is a walking path. And these taxpayers will be the ones who pay this whole bill. Everybody inside that tax allocation district will be the ones who pay this cost. When you throw out that 50-year number, that anticipates an absolutely worst case scenario. Okay? But again, only the money generated out of that TAD goes to pay that off. So if in the worst case scenario there's not enough development to create the increment to pay off the TAD in a shorter period of time, it will take longer. But the county's nobody has lost anything in this deal because they're going to continue to receive the same amount of money in ad valorem taxes as they were receiving when it was undeveloped. Now, I try not to get into the whole worst case scenario piece, but I think it's fair for people to understand why that might say 50 years. The bondholder still has to be paid off, and he relies upon the development to do that. And this particular project that we're talking about is a $140 million project. Nobody underwrites these bonds without being very confident about the development that occurs there. These bonds will pay off in 10 years or less.
Ernie Reynolds had made some other comments, and I'm going to try and summarize what I feel like they've expressed. They won't get any additional money for, you say 10 years, 10, 15, 20 years. They won't get the additional money, but there's there's growth. There's going to be additional people in the area, more people using the roads. There's going to be a bigger population. You talk about the apartments, so that could affect the school systems. So they're thinking they're going to have all this that the county taxpayers, countywide, will have to pay for new fire trucks or roads, sheriff, deputies. Everybody else will have to take that on while they're waiting for to get that extra money that's been generated from this bigger project.
Well, I don't agree with that viewpoint, and let me tell you why. There is a retail piece of this that's going to generate substantially more money than property tax alone would have generated if we had just built houses there. So when you look at the sales tax revenues that would come out from over there, you're looking at the school system receiving about $520,000 a year. This is from the retail piece. Mm-hmm. And the county receiving about $830,000 a year just from the retail piece. So yes, the increment on the ad valorem is committed to paying off these bonds for so long as it takes to pay them off. But keep in mind, the moment these bonds pay off and this ends, you go to full ad valorem for all of these taxing authorities, the city of Rica, the county, and the school system. So while they are giving up that increment to pay off this infrastructure, it's not that they are not receiving revenue. They're receiving the amount of revenue that they already were receiving, and now they're picking up this extra for the schools, $520,000 a year, and for the county, $830,000 a year.
Okay, so they will be receiving something extra,
absolutely,
as this is as this project goes on.
And sure, we've heard people say, "Well, that's SPLOST money. You can't use that for salaries." We understand that, but you can use it to buy fire trucks. You can use it to buy equipment. You can use it for capital expenses that might free up other monies in your general funds if you were to be impacted by salaries. Now, at this point, we don't know the answer to that. We've asked. We just don't have the answers yet from the county about the impact, what they project the cost to be. In addition, for this development to the county in terms of fire service, in terms of the sheriff's office, the 911 system, the animal control, that all of these things they've mentioned in public statements. We've asked, what is this cost? What is your projection for this cost? We've looked at internal numbers, but we don't want to put out our information yet because we're relying on the county to tell us what they think it's going to cost. But we've looked at the budgets and how the budgets have moved with growth. And we've looked at the fire service calls. So we're trying to extrapolate that. We want to be good partners and understand that as well. And that's what we've done with the school system. We know the Villa Rica cluster is full. But what we also know is that some type of growth is coming to Villa Rica regardless. In 1974, when I-20 came to Villa Rica, the die was cast. Villa Rica was going to grow at some point. And for 2 decades, every projection I have seen out of the county and out of the city has been that Villa Rica will see this growth. We did have this lull of maybe 8 or 10 years between the real estate boom crash and in 2017. So from 8 to 17, we saw almost no growth. But now it's coming back, and it's coming back significantly, and we've got to do our part to make sure we get the best, highest type growth that we can get for the city of Villa Rica.
If commissioners and the Board of Education do present numbers, I'm assuming they'd have to projections of what they think it would cost them. I mean, what can you guys actually do with those numbers, about those numbers? I mean, can you dispute them? I mean, they present those numbers to you. What can you do about it? If they say these numbers scare us and we're not comfortable with them, I mean, what's your rebuttal to that?
Well, we'll just wait and see if that's what they say. Our job is not to dispute anything. We want to better understand what the concerns are, and when we see that, we'll be prepared to take a look at it in a sort of a whole picture scenario. We don't think that impact would exist. But we don't know. We don't run their. We don't. We're not involved in their day-to-day operations. All
right. Time right now is 8:51. We're going to take our final break. Come back and continue a conversation with the representatives from the city of Villa Rica. We've got Mayor Gil McDougal and City Manager Tom Barber. Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
Oak Mountain Academy is an innovative school of academic excellence celebrating a 60-year legacy. I'm Patrick Uran, head of school, inviting you to join us for our 60th anniversary celebration weekend on March 18th and 19th. Join us for a silent and live auction, cocktail hour, dinner, OMA trivia, and dancing as we celebrate 60 years of excellence. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us. The Warrior Legacy, celebrating 60 years of excellence. Warrior-minded, warrior-driven, and warrior-led.
8:52. Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. This morning on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page, our guests, City Manager Tom Barber, Mayor Gil McDougal from the city of Villa Rica. We're going to go to the Facebook page, look at some questions right now. Kimberly Skasny asking, how will this affect traffic flow at I-20 and Mirror Lake Boulevard? Right now, traffic backs up during rush hours from Connors Road to the interstate. I can only imagine this will create huge traffic issues. Kind of like Chick-fil-A, now that the other one's closed on the other side of Carrollton, there's a big traffic jam up on the highway, but we don't need to talk about that.
Well, I haven't been out to that Chick-fil-A, so I don't know the answer to that. Well, so when it comes to traffic, we've done a traffic study for the city of Villa Rica, and we're also looking at traffic really on an ongoing basis. We think that just the opposite will be the case here, because there will be an ability to move traffic along Punkintown Road and then back down the corridor that takes you into downtown. We don't have all of the designs yet, and I would hate to say there's going to be a roundabout or a traffic light or what it turns out to be, but there are also significant improvements coming to Punkintown Road that were part of the SPLOST allocation that the city was already doing, irrespective of this project. But we are absolutely mindful of the impact to traffic. It's important that we make sure that we move that traffic in a way that's expeditious over there. But I think that we are planning in a way that we can handle that.
Derek Newton, financial expert, specialist type guy. He, you did talk about there was a recession when the housing bubble burst. What if that happens again? Is his question. What if that happens again in the next 2 or 3 years?
I think that in our economy, there's always that risk. Nobody is suggesting that it's not, and I think that's why Jeff Fuqua, in that December town hall, made the point that time kills all deals because of the uncertainty out there. But the retail piece of this will come regardless. They're going to build that as long as we can do our part here with this road. They're going to build that retail piece of that. So if in his scenario that there is a crash and the rest of the housing doesn't get built, I don't see that as a loss for this particular TAD.
Well, what about you connect that with the recession? People can't go out there and buy. They're not spending all their money at these places.
Well, people are still going to go to the grocery stores. I haven't lived through a depression yet. I think people will still go to the grocery store and they'll still go to these shops. But either way, it will already have been built.
And Kimberly asked a second question. I think we touched on this a little bit earlier in the program, but I think the bottom part of that portion would fit with the Board of Education comments more than from these guys. The apartments and the townhouses that will be built there, who are they going to be targeted for? I mean, I've seen concerns, if there's lower income apartments in that area.
Well, so there's multiple pieces. When I described the TAD earlier, I told you it was a large tract of land that had been identified, and we sort of view it as 4 different pieces. There is the Fuquay piece is the high end piece. We expect those apartments to be the rent to be considerably high, and they are not built on any tax credits. There is no subsidies that is going to allow those to be lower income apartments. It just doesn't exist within that development. And the townhomes will be fee simple, individually owned. There is a section that had already been approved before this deal ever came along, and it is workforce housing, and that will have federal tax credits, and it will allow for lower rents. And they, as I said, they call that workforce housing. Those will be people who work, probably mid-level income jobs. So that exists,
and the rent's based on what they're making.
Yeah, because it's it's tax subsidized. Mm-hmm. That piece is coming regardless. In fact, they'll be breaking ground, if not already, probably this month, I would think. And then there are 2 other nodes that we don't have nailed down yet. We're calling them nodes, but we are really close on one of them, and that will target really high end, and I mean really high end, even higher than this Jeff Fuquay piece, fee simple housing over there. And then the third one we have some hopes for. We think it'll be millennials, not the third one, but the 4th piece that's closer to the downtown area. Mm-hmm. We think that'll be, we're working on it. We don't have it, but it's multifamily housing is our idea there for targeting millennials, which could produce kids, families. We're not opposed to that at all. We're just trying to find a way to minimize the impact on the schools if we can, because we believe that our success as a city is directly tied to the success of the school system. We have great schools, and we have been proud of the work we've been able to do and the working relationship we have with the school board.
I hope we got a lot of new information out there, or maybe verified some information people at home were already aware. And appreciate you tuning in this morning. Appreciate you guys coming all the way down here this morning to talk about the TAD. And good luck with this. Hopefully, everybody agrees it's a good thing, or if it's a good thing, hopefully everybody agrees to it and everybody gets what they want out of this project. Time right now is 8:59. It is Friday, so no Community Voice tomorrow or Sunday, but come back on Monday morning, 8:30. Steve Graddick should be sitting in this seat, and I know you all will be chomping at the bit for that all weekend long. Community Voice, as always, brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy. News Talk 1330 FM 106.3.